Welcome to the Faction Master Invitational, this tournament being presented by WBA, the Warhammer Battle Arena. It's a group that seems to be spearheaded by some VM members, Russian language Warhammer community that is also hosting this event, which features a bunch of top players in a very unique format in which they can only play each faction once during the tournament. So we're going to open with Alfredino versus Lord Lever, which is definitely a 10 out of 10 name. Alfredino starting with Cathay here against Lord Lever's Khorne, and again, they can only take each faction once. This is the first round, so some considerations, especially when you're matched up against a very veteran and strong opponent like Alfredino. Do you pick your best factions first, or do you try and knock out some of the factions you think might be weaker? Save the better factions for stronger opponents later on in the tournament. Certainly some interesting strategy in that way, but here we're going to open with these two builds on these two players. Yuanbo, the Jade Dragon, throwing down a nice net on the Hellforged Bellowers there. Following up immediately with these double Celestial Dragon crossbows, including the Grace of Kuai Yin, the Regiment of Renown. Looks like Peasant Long Spears, and then we've got some Celestial Dragon Guard mixed in there as well. One Jade Halberd and some Jade Lancers, Onyx Crowman up in the sky. As for Khorne, yeah, those Hellforged Bellowers still potent as ever. That big AoE shooting attack. Skull Taker leading the way. Love to see him on his motorcycle. Got some Bloodletters here, some Blood Beasts. Mixed in with a couple Marauders. Some Furies up in the sky, and a nice wide flank of infantry here with some Bloodletters and Marauders as well. So, Hellforged Bellowers do manage to survive. You can see the Onyx Crowman kind of looking like they maybe want to try and pressure and finish off the last of that leadership there, but the Fury is staying in a nice position in order to counter that. You see the Hellforged Bellowers coming up and trying to use whatever ammunition it can. Gets an okay hit on those Peasant Long Spears. The slope is going to work against it somewhat in this situation. There's some undulations in this terrain here. These different divots and dips and bumps will sort of break up direct line of fire units' ability to strike consistently, but let's see. That scatter shot could also still make some pretty good contact. Yeah, with some extra reload skill coming in from the drum, which is also just such a key piece for Cathay. Jangu War Drum is just always here, providing that nice harmony for whatever units need it. It's unbreakable, decently tanky, 6,000 HP with 80 armor. It's definitely not bad. So your opponent will have to dedicate some resources to try and take it out, and it's just giving such massive buffs. Look at this, Grace of Kuai Yin already used about half their ammunition in this short time the battle's been going here. You see another net drop on Skull Taker. Yuanbo's going to strike forth, try and take out the Khorne Lord here. But will it be enough? He did pop that Dragon's Fang. Nice damage bump, up to 600, almost 700 weapon strength. And Skull Taker manages to definitely avoid, get into the center, and start to disrupt those Celestial Dragon crossbows. Looks like the Khorne Furies might have just come in and won straight up against Crowman, which is super impressive, honestly. One of the strengths of Khorne Furies, that extra weapon strength and charge and so forth, really helps them in this specific matchup. We also got a Horn of Khorne coming down here as well, gives some extra melee attack in a nice AoE. Allow these units to just hit that much harder, but so far Cathay in defense holding pretty admirably. Backline is being somewhat savage, but at the same time, the pressure from Yuanbo is on. Ooh, and he just straight executes Skull Taker there. Big loss for Khorne. You can see immediately those Blood Beasts are going to tear out Hellforged Bellowers. Got a respectable 62 kills so far, but nothing too crazy. Is he actually trying to shoot Yuanbo directly? Not sure. Looks like that might be the case with the targeting there, or maybe hit the War Drum. Regardless, the War Drum is making these Jade Halberds and the Celestial Halberds as well. Yeah, look at that. Just amazing stats. What is it, 46, 49, 36 weapon strength. Definitely not bad. Despite the armor piercing of the Bloodletters, they're still... they're doing some damage for sure, but they're not quite able to fully get through these Celestial Dragon Guard. But, oh man, looks like those Blood Beasts got in, got a decent charge. And Celestial Crossbows here, despite their defensive stats, are definitely going to take quite a bit of damage in this type of fight. That Khorne Cannon still landing some shots here. Yuanbo's going to go shut that nonsense down. Nice sort of Khorne drops on some Celestial Dragon infantry. Will do a nice chunk of damage to them. Looks like the Celestial Crossbows are also done for. The one Celestial Dragon Guard, though, and the Jade Halberd still holding admirably. Dengu War Drum also barely a quarter of its HP has been taken off, and just providing such great buffs to everything around. It's really quite impactful at this point. The fact that Khorne really doesn't have a good response for the drum, both in terms of a build perspective. I mean, certainly Khorne has units that could potentially kill the drum for sure. Think about something like, Hellforge Bellowers goes down in a blast of flame. Something like, Minotaur's Great Weapons. Nice armor-piercing anti-large. Could definitely finish off the War Drum, but the thing is, you do have to finish it, right? Like, fully. And, due to that unbreakable trait. So, being that as it is, certainly has been somewhat focused down here. Yeah, the Blood Beasts aren't doing a terrible job of it, but would have been much better served with some Minotaurs. Of course, Cathay is not a faction you often think of as a faction you need to take anti-large against. But especially for the more melee-centric factions, they almost, the Cathay can almost adopt like a, not quite a full-on vampire blob situation, but definitely gets a lot of value out of fighting near the drum against these melee rush factions. And it looks like Alfredino's defense will hold in this first game. I am going to have more games from this series, of course. Might not show every game from every series, but we'll go through some of the more interesting and exciting matchups and take a look at them as needed. But yeah, Lord Lever. Oh, sorry, I actually got the teams completely backwards. Lord Lever is Cathay here, and Alfredino was Khorne. Ultimately, Lord Lever is able to walk away with a win. Yeah, very well constructed build. The drum just supporting everything. Alfredino, definitely got in there, buttered some bread, got some decent value. Although the net and the double crossbow is quite nasty. It reminds me quite a bit of the, ancient tactic of Teclis, using similar things with like Sisters of Avalorn, right? Get that net, get a nice firing lane, and just light them up with armor-piercing missiles. Definitely very effective against these single entities. Yeah, both Skulltaker and the Hellforge Bellowers suffered pretty badly there, but hey, Khorne, it's done now for Alfredino. Lord Lever has Cathay, with a very strong land battles faction off as well, so quite interesting. Yeah, the Celestial Crossbows definitely obviously feasting on value. Rest of the Cathayan infantry doing a pretty decent job. Yeah, 900 on a peasant long spear. That's also kind of value that goes to the drum in many ways, right? So pretty good for Yuan Bo as well. Definitely a very strong character at taking out opposing characters, which is definitely a key aspect of land battles. The drum's not wildly expensive, 1100 value. It's definitely not super cheap, but it's, as far as these sort of support chariots go, definitely can get its value back. Leadership is really nice. The fact that it has the double harmony, it's hard to quantify in a way. I mean, I guess you literally could look at these, but, it gives some nice base modifiers. And then, of course, if you have something else that will amplify harmony, that's also, kind of even amplifies the value of the war drum, right? It has its own, plus 50% harmony amplifier, but dragon siblings get even more from that, right? So Yuan Bo, supporting, he was flying around quite a bit in that battle, probably wasn't giving the full, harmony amplifier the entire time to the war drum or its vicinity, but even still, plus 8 leadership. Cathay units already tend to have pretty good leadership, so this makes them very, very tough to break. And yeah, that, extra buff on top of giving consistent harmony, which against certain factions is super important. Again, we think about like these really melee-centric rush factions. Khorne really epitomizes that in many ways. And they definitely are countered in many ways by the war drum, right? The extra attack and everything. The fact that you can hang on to your harmony for your melee units, even while your ranged units are getting overwhelmed. And this is something that's very true of Khorne. Norska, Beastmen are in a similar position. Slaanesh, right? These factions that can overwhelm your ranged units very quickly. The drum gives you a way to still maintain harmony without really having to worry about that as much, right? Although certainly we saw there, the ranged units put to very good effect. And yeah, Celestial Dragon Crossbows, Yuan Bo, with that nice net. It's a classic combination for sure. Net and armor-piercing missiles. A tale as old as time. But certainly, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Going to be bringing you more games from the tournament, so strap yourselves in. We're going to have some fun. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.